While I was a Christian, it had never occurred to me just how many problems are associated with Jesus' sacrifice for sins. After a little investigating, I soon realized how this central issue for Christianity is so illogical and confusing that Christians themselves find wide disagreements and lack any comprehensive understanding. I will be breaking down these confusing and illogical problems into separate categories to help you understand just how blunderous this theology truly is. I will start with, what did Jesus sacrifice? If Christians are going to believe in a Bronze Age blood sacrifice ritual, can they explain what Jesus sacrificed? The Bible teaches us that Jesus did not die. In fact, Jesus knew he wasn't going to die. As Jesus was hanging on the cross, he spoke to the criminal being executed next to him and said, "Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." Jesus was simply transferring to a much better place. Shouldn't a sacrifice imply that Jesus should give up something? If death is the price for sin, shouldn't Jesus be dead? Maybe instead of saying Jesus died for us, believers should be saying he took some lashings or had one bad evening. But they don't want to say that because we all suffer down here. Many people have been beaten to death or dealt with fear and pain as equal or worse than what Jesus experienced. So they have to say he died for us. Folks, being on earth is not always fun or easy. Transferring yourself to a much better place and knowing you are going to a much better place is not a sacrifice at all. Why require acceptance? This is a bizarre concept. Why is Jesus' sacrifice not a universal salvation? Of course, Christians will say it is a free gift for all, but that is not entirely true. There are some basic religious steps that must be initiated. First, you will need to be convinced that the magical people and stories found in the Bible are true. Then you need to telepathically send off a salvation prayer, worship and proselytize for this God, ensuring that your family and neighbors also follow suit. If you fail to believe, submit, and worship, Jesus' blood sacrifice will not be activated for you, and your name will not be found in his book, the Book of Life. It's not as if this blood sacrifice doesn't work for everybody. It certainly does. It's just that a statutory has been placed on the sacrifice so that you must first identify the correct God and oblige to his conditions before ducking all accountability. This God's insistence for being recognized as the creator of all things and his tremendous jealousy inhibits a universal salvation. It is much like a doctor who creates a life-saving medicine, but doesn't want anybody to have it unless they give him recognition. The medicine works for everybody just fine, but will not be handed out unless you first say, "I acknowledge that Dr. Craig made this medicine. I am thankful for Dr. Craig and love him for his great accomplishments and healing medicine." You see, Dr. Craig does not want anybody to receive his life-giving medicine without proper acknowledgement, and if you fail to oblige, Dr. Craig will let you die horribly. Why does accepting Jesus have a time limit? In Christian theology, you must accept and submit to Jesus before you die. Oddly enough, a deathbed confession is an acceptable form of salvation within mainstream Christianity. 5 minutes before you die, you can telepathically send off the magical words to be whisked away into heaven. How is this not ridiculous? Does this not lack integrity or sincerity? Could God be this shallow? Apparently, he just wants to hear those magical words. If it is too late to accept Jesus after we die, where is that defined cutoff point? Does anybody know? What if we have just stopped breathing and our heart has stopped, but our brain has not been completely starved of oxygen and is still active? For the next 20 minutes, our brain goes into a dreamlike state that is slowly withering away, and somewhere inside that foggy place, we think about Jesus and perform a heartfelt salvation prayer. Is it too late for you, or did you, just in the nick of time, get swept up into Jesus' arms? What if we make it to that long, bright tunnel and decide then? Is that too late? Does anybody else realize how silly this is? And why exactly can't we accept Jesus after we die? What's the problem here? Is Christian theology nothing more than a test? This is all too similar to what we might experience during a test in a high school classroom, where we have a running stopwatch, and after the buzzer sounds, if we have not completed the answers correctly, we fail, and the answers are revealed to us, but we can no longer select them. If our lives are some kind of cruel cosmic test, resulting in your place in either an infinite heavenly bliss or a torturous, horrifying hell, then things become even more sinister, because this cosmic test does not provide us with sufficient evidence. If you were indoctrinated as a child, white-skinned, or born in the Bible Belt of the USA, then you are probably more likely to guess the correct answer versus being born in Asia, Turkey, or Pakistan. Oddly enough, if Jesus is so profoundly determined to have us confess a belief and love for him as the criteria for our eternal salvation, why does he fail to manifest in reality or in any kind of verifiable way or speak for himself? This God requires man's help in doing everything. That is, writing, speaking, financial support, and spreading the word. This God's hiddenness will ensure that the majority of humans will fail the test and not be saved. Perhaps this could be God's desired outcome? Or maybe none of this blood sacrifice stuff is true. Percy Shelley once said, "A God made by man undoubtedly has need of man to make himself known to man." A line in the sand. Most Christians believe that once you are saved, you are permanently saved. Because I am no longer a Christian, they often tell me that I never was one. However, there are many Christians who teach the opposite, that salvation can be lost. Well, which is it? In the book of Matthew, Jesus makes a clear point that many who believe in him and think they are saved are not. "Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name done wonderful works? And I will profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity." A lack of agreement between Christian camps is only the tip of the iceberg here. The real problem goes much deeper. All Christians are sinners who are still sinning. Therefore, they must admit to having some allowance of sin. Yet there must be a line in the sand. For example, can a Christian who continually molests a child remain saved? No, I hope not. What about a Christian who continually watches porn? Yes? No? Nobody knows. So how can anybody actually know they are saved if they don't know how much sin they are allowed? At some point, this situation demands clarity. After all, Jesus says they will be lost due to their iniquities. That is, sin. Are Christians allowed to watch porn so long as they feel bad and seek forgiveness afterwards, continually being forgiven or resaved over and over again? Does this work with molesting children as well? No? Yes? Not one Christian can itemize this problem. So how can any Christian know if they are saved if they don't know which sins fall into the safe zone? Where is the line drawn between sins that are too heinous and those that are acceptable? Perhaps being an alcoholic who continually gets belligerently drunk is okay, but cheating on your wife is not? Who knows? When any Christian assures themselves that they are saved, they are only playing a charade in their own mind. They have no idea how much allowance for sin they are provided before they can no longer be acceptable for salvation or call themselves a real Christian. The madness and confusion within Christian theology is far from being concluded. In part 2 of this video, I will be examining many more problems with this blood sacrifice theology. So please follow Stairway to Reason and stay tuned. And stay strong and wise, my friends.
I don't believe in masquerades. I don't believe that you're okay. I don't believe that God will save. Only you can solve your problems. I don't care what they sold you. They are not here to hold you. Don't